Have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and it's the way I'm making my podcast right now. And it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And Anchor is going to distribute your podcast to all the major important places you would ever want, like Spotify and Apple and so many more places. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. I love it. It's so simple. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Intuitive Psychologist Podcast. I'm Lindsay Pandya, and I am a licensed clinical psychologist who's been in the mental health field for over 15 years. I am so grateful to be part of the mental health field, especially since in this day and age, mental health is really coming online as to how important it is to not only have it, but to have the conversations and normalize what many of us all go through. We all, from time to time, and sometimes for far too long, struggle with our mental health. The one piece, though, about mental health that I feel is missing so much is the conversation around spirituality and how important it can be to be tapped into the spiritual side of you to help with your mental health. Thankfully, I feel like in this current climate, people are having a spiritual awakening at an ever-increasing rate, which can be jarring and scary and confusing, and you may even think that you're losing your mind a bit. So my intention with this podcast is to bridge the gap between spirituality and mental health, and I want to bridge the gap through normalizing not only mental illness, mental health issues, but to also normalize typical spiritual awakening symptoms, give you some guidance as to how to manage a spiritual awakening. I bring on guests to help talk about different modalities to connect you in to your spiritual nature. And I want to do all of this with the intention to help you grow and to know that you are not alone and that there's help out there for you. So please join me on this journey through my own self-discovery with mental health problems, with challenging life events, and going through my spiritual awakening and continued spiritual growth. Join me and my friends as we have these interesting and sometimes very difficult conversations, not only about mental health, but also about a spiritual journey. So welcome, friends, and enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Intuitive Psychologist Podcast. Wow, has it been a journey? My God. I feel like I'm beginning to come out of the void. If you all follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen maybe some posts recently about me feeling like I've been in a void, and I think I've indicated on the few episodes I've actually dropped lately that there just seems to be a hibernation mode that I've been in lately. Also, the last, couple months of me trying to come on here and record something, I'm literally tripping over my own words. I stop at a few minutes in and go, no, that's stupid. And then I have to rethink. I take my notes, I review. I'm like, what do I know? Do I even know anything to share with these folks? And oftentimes I feel like, no, I don't. So part of that is, my negative beliefs about me knowing what the hell I'm talking about, having anything of substance to share with anyone. So I figured I'd just come on here briefly and just talk about this. Now, I have all these hold on one second. I have all these wonderful intentions about talking about trauma and PTSD and complex PTSD, because I think that it would be very helpful for a lot of my audience to understand this, not only from like a psychological perspective, but also from maybe a spiritual perspective. Want to talk eventually about introverts versus extroverts and how you know which one you are and what to do with it, and all these great ideas. I think they're great ideas. Execution sucks. So this may be a quick one, but yeah, I just figured instead of me keep trying to trip over myself and spend hours on end to just get a little bit out there, I'm just going to come clean and just be real about what this void has been like for me. And maybe y'all can relate and maybe not. And so if you want to skip this one, I totally understand, because sadly it's going to be a little bit more about myself. I have this weird problem where I can easily talk about myself in my experience, which feels narcissistic to just get on here, because who the fuck wants to listen to me hammering on about what my last several months have been like? But my hope is that when I do that, maybe somebody will go, oh, that's me too, and now I don't feel so alone. But yeah, I mean, intuitively, it makes sense that we might, as a collective, kind of go into a void space, you know, over the winter months, the fall, winter months, because it's a good time to reflect, to do inventory of the progress you've made and the areas you can still improve on. And obviously, one of my areas that I will always be working through is self-esteem. And so self-esteem has been a big one, and I think that's why when I come on here to talk to you all, I have a blank. I've even felt like I've been struggling to connect, to do my therapy lately, and also struggling to connect with my spiritual side when I'm doing my coaching, where it just feels like I'm not as tapped in or in tune. And the reality is it's mostly just my belief system that I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough knowledge, I don't have something valuable to share with anyone. It can be easier for me to do like one-on-ones, so when people ask me questions, I can somehow access that easier than for me to sit down and lecture to you all and give you all this data. And I also don't want to make it boring. You know, I don't want you guys to just be like, oh God, I'm in a lecture hall, I didn't apply to go to college. And to be real, if you felt that way, you wouldn't keep listening. So for any of you that have stuck through this, I really appreciate you sticking around and going on this ride with me. It's been tough. As you all know, I've done recent episodes kind of describing a little bit of the environmental factors that have caused some of this void. But the reality is some of it too is just like we just have to go inside and clear some of this stuff, because you have to face it. You have to know it's even there, but then you have to face it and look at it. And then you have to go, okay, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to let this take over me? Or am I going to stand up and try to be a warrior princess and be like, nah, fuck off. I'm going to handle my shit, you know? So I'm going to handle my shit. And instead of me fighting against myself and saying, well, I'm supposed to do some sort of, you know, educational piece for the masses, I'm just going to go with what is real. And the reality is the void is uncomfortable. Sometimes just being in the void and not knowing you're in it, but you know something's off, you know? That's really tough. To feel like, to wonder, like, do you have a mental illness and you just will never get over this, you know? Like, do I just have seasonal depression? Maybe. I don't know. I know that this year, this void definitely felt way better than any other sort of like down period in my life. And usually the other ones were like situational. And yes, I had some pretty significant situational things go on since like November, December time. But the reality is like, even during that, I've been doing okay. You know, it just got more quiet. And I think that there's really a lot of utility in just going quiet. Like, I don't always have to speak to fill up space. Sometimes you just need some introspection so that you can take knowledge that you learned and let it integrate, and maybe have that knowledge eventually turn into wisdom, because sometimes it's wiser to not talk, right? And if I don't have anything to say, shit, I don't want to just fill up your time with nothing, which maybe this fucking is. Maybe this will be a void of your time, is me talking about my void aimlessly, because I just, like, seriously, I came on here again, and it has been, like, I went from going from having stuff to say, having inspiration, motivation, passion, and I could, think of things in advance, I could do my research, I could prepare, I'd do all my stuff, sit down, and I could almost hit record and just go and be satisfied with what I had. Now it's like I hit record and I'm like stumbling and I don't like what I said, and then I'm like, nope, I don't mean that, da 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 da. So, are any of y'all feeling the void or feeling like you're coming out of the void? It can be scary. It's darkness. You have to kind of shine your own light to figure out what the hell is going on. Also, a lot of my friends and a lot of the spiritual people that I listen to have been going through some pretty significant medical and mental challenges lately. And maybe it's an upgrade, but I've been experiencing a lot of brain fog too. Now, I don't have Lyme disease. I don't have epilepsy. I don't have anything new physically that could relate to this. I didn't get COVID. I had a cold for about a month, and so maybe that was like my version of that, but I don't really have a reason to have mental fog, except maybe as a collective we're just changing, and mental fog, memory issues kind of force you to be really present. Because if I can't remember a conversation I had with a client the week before or even 3 months before, I used to be so sharp. And now I can't remember it as well. And maybe I'm overworked still, not having enough breaks and taking too much on and not grounding enough and not clearing my energy field enough. That's all possible. So let's not forget that, folks, that it's really important that we stay grounded, we protect ourselves when we're around others, and that we release any energy or thought patterns or anything that we gather from talking to people or being around people that isn't ours, because that really can be a zap for us of our energy, of our mental capacity, all of that. So that's another thing to maybe think about. I don't like this episode. I don't like what I'm talking about right now. I'm considering hitting stop. And if I do, you'll have never heard this. And if you're looking down at the timer and say, oh, nope, there's still more left to go, then I guess I didn't give up on myself. And that maybe I could pull myself out of this. But maybe this is all just a mental fog. Maybe that's the reason why it's been so tough and I've been feeling like I'm in a void, is because maybe I'm actually just dealing with a mental fog. But from what? I don't know. And why? What is this serving me? I know that eventually I want to do an episode about imposter syndrome, but I just would hate, I don't want to feel like a copycat, because Jessa Reed has been talking for the last couple weeks about also, wanting to do an episode about imposter syndrome. So I don't want to copycat her. So I may do like a full actual episode about it, but I guess as a little teaser, for many of us, especially helpers, go through a period of time or wax and wane, flow in and out of feeling like, you're just not good enough. And if you believe it to be true, it can kind of take over for a bit. And what do you do to get out of the imposter syndrome? I guess imposter syndrome, in essence, can be a little bit of a self-sabotage. In that if you believe that you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you believe that you can't help people, you believe you don't know what you're doing, you believe you need more certificates, more training, more education, more something tangible in the 3D world to have a checkbox saying, yes, this person knows what they're talking about, or letters behind your name. Trust me when I say you getting a doctorate does not make you necessarily feel any more smart. It doesn't, because the reality is it's how you believe about yourself. So if you don't believe that you're very smart, but you got the letters, you're just going to think, well, I just paid enough money to get my degree. Or, oh, they just passed me through, because they felt sorry for me, or they liked me as a person, but I'm really not that smart. Yeah, so those are some of the thoughts that kind of can come through my head. Or I could work with a client and feel like I'm doing no good, maybe even worse than most therapists. And the crazy thing is when you get compliments from your clients, but you feel like an imposter, it goes in one ear and out the other. And it doesn't sit with you. Like I'm trying to think about, I had some of my clients very kindly recently tell me some of the most heartwarming things, brought me to tears. And then it was like, poof, gone. That sucks, dude. That sucks. And part of me actually goes, no, this is actually good. It keeps you fucking humble, right? Keeps you humble that you forget that some people think you're great. Because you know what my head says? Well, if they worked with better people, they would know how little I actually know or how little I'm actually capable of, right? If they knew better, if they went to a better, coach, better therapist, then they would truly know that I'm actually not helping them that much. And then this is the other crazy part. And I do truly believe this. This is such a paradox. But I truly 100% believe that 90% is my client. 10% is me holding space for spirit. But you know how many people I have worked with, and I've felt like I worked very hard, probably too hard, and nothing happened, nothing changed. I felt like I was beating my head against the wall, and here I am foolishly thinking I'm the one doing it. I'm not. Why can't I just step aside and go, okay, this person isn't ready yet, and that's good. They don't have to be ready, right? When I see changes happen, I think, good, they have done so much good work. So can you see the paradox in this thought process that part of me thinks that I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough, I'm not helping them enough, and then the other half of me goes, but it wouldn't be me anyway, even if they did change. So try to reconcile that craziness, because it's hard. It's hard even saying this out loud, how I can reconcile that. But that's the truth, and that's, I think, how this stuff works with imposter syndrome and low self-esteem. Is part of you thinks that it's you, and the reality is it's not you. It's not me. I do think that some healers hold space for spirit to come through when it's spiritually related, but sometimes not if you're spiritually inclined, because I do sometimes think spirit is coming through me for many of my therapy appointments, not all. I think there's a block for my client and then probably a block for me, because some clients feel easier, therapy clients feel easier to sort of get into this sweet spot. And others, I beat my head against a wall going, what am I doing wrong? Girl, step aside. It ain't you. So, getting back to imposter syndrome, which is the exact thing I said I wasn't going to talk about, right? I wasn't going to copy frickin' Jessa. But my guess is that many of us are going through this, right? And that's why we're all kind of feeling it. That's why, there's so much brain fog going on. There's so many physical symptoms going on that are slowing people down, stopping them from their work. We have to go in We have to look at these messaging we're telling ourselves and rework it, because I can still value myself as a healer and also know it's not me. I'm not the one doing the work. It's my client and it's spirit, and I'm holding space so that spirit may come through. So what do we do? One thing is writing down a list of all of the things that you think that you're good at, all of the qualifications to say that you actually do possess enough knowledge. I mean, do possess enough quality to be good enough. Because the reality is, and I like this concept, and sometimes a lot of the time I forget about this, but all you have to be is good enough. You don't have to be the best, and you don't have to be perfect, because that's another self-sabotage right there. And I think this can feed into the imposter syndrome, is that if you're not perfect, or if you make mistakes, or if you don't have the answer when a client asks you, or when they need help and you don't really know what to do in that moment, then you think you're not perfect, and then therefore you must be an imposter. Well, no, that's not necessarily true, right? So look at, in what ways are you qualified? In what ways are you doing a good enough job? Also, knowing where these, belief systems originate from is really important. It's helpful. Is this messaging from your family, from social media, from peers, from teachers, from, ask yourself where it's coming from. And one trick that I like is to envision that whatever this thought process is coming from, to just kind of like envision it's like a little monster, or not like a monster, but like a friendly monster. And just go, or, you say, nope, this is, my dad, how he used to talk to me, and just go, yeah, guess what? I'm not going to believe you today. I'm not going to believe you for this moment if you can't do the whole day. I'm not going to believe you for this moment. I choose to know that I am good enough, and that is good enough. Have fun with your flaws. Have fun with making mistakes, because guess what? I like this analogy, but when you think about babies that are crawling and trying to stand up and then trying to walk, we always see them plop right down on their fat little tush, and they try again, and then they plop, they fall back down. And it's like they have this excitement or joy around just the trying. The failure is fun, because the reality is that they have to fail. They have to fall down so that they can learn to pick themselves back up, because every time that they pick themselves back up, they're building muscles in their legs each time. And if they didn't fall, then they wouldn't build the muscles to help them stand. So when you feel like you're an imposter, how can you have fun with it and laugh at yourself and think, okay, well, maybe today it didn't feel so good, and maybe I wasn't so nice to myself today, but what did I learn? What did I learn? How did I grow, and how did I become stronger because I didn't feel like I was good enough today? How can I be a little bit more gentle with myself tomorrow? Or for me, like with my next client, how can I just take a step back and remind myself, stop taking this shit so fucking seriously? I think one of my biggest fears, actually I know this is one of my biggest fears, and probably leading to my panic when I have to get on here and share a story or try to quote unquote teach y'all something that's important. When I'm working with clients, I know that this is one of my biggest fears, is that I'm afraid I'm going to harm somebody. I'm afraid I'm going to say something that maybe my intention is misconstrued. My words are said wrong with the wrong context or inflation. that maybe my knowledge isn't enough, but ultimately my biggest fear is I'm going to hurt somebody. Now, the likelihood is that in a past life or many past lives, I have hurt people, whether on accident or through negligence or what have you, or not even my fault, but watching people be hurt and feeling it is my fault. I know that this has to be one of my biggest reasons why this has been very hard. I think this is a reason why I've been in the void as well, is because when you're in the void or avoiding, you avoid harm. You're also avoiding the ability to help people. So one of my biggest fears is that I'm going to hurt one of you by something that I say. And maybe I want to change my mind at some point, but I've said something that's hurt you, you've taken offense to, I give you bad advice, and it leads to doing bad. You know, I think intent is a huge, huge factor, one of the biggest ones in most of what we do. But even, what do they say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? So there's some of that already mixed in with our culture, is that like we can very easily hurt people. And one of the tenets of mental health, career, and healthcare in general is do no harm. Do no harm. I don't want to harm you all, and I don't want to do, I just want to help. I just want to do good. I just want to ease people's suffering, make them feel better about themselves, their life, give them hope, empower people. And sometimes when the panic comes up, you can just run into your shell and hide and go, I don't have to do anything. I'm not liable. But it's a bit of a cop-out. It's a bit of a cop-out to do that, to just run and hide. So I will be brave and continue to show up as often as I can to continue this podcast until it feels like it's time to stop. But I know this is a little all over the place, and I apologize, but I just have brain fog, and I have fears and panic, and when I become afraid, my brain shuts down a lot. So this is why I think one of the reasons why I've been called to want to do some talk about PTSD and just trauma responses, because we can often think that we're not smart or that there's something wrong with us. In reality, we may just be having a trauma response. So yes, I will do one soon. I promise. I think it's really important. But I have been feeling like a bit of an imposter, and I definitely have been dealing with worries of harming people, both in my practice, in my coaching, and then with you all as well. Because once it's down and it's recorded, I can't go back. There's no denying what I say. There's no denying how I may hurt. So I don't want that. But I'm going to continue to show up and just ask you all that if I ever say anything or do anything that hurts anyone, please let me know. Help me know my blind spots, because I do take this very seriously. I need to take things a little less serious so I can have a little bit more fun with stuff and let myself off the hook a bit. But I really just don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to help. I really, really do. So I'm slowly walking out of the void. I am going to continue to try to be brave and push past my limits and limiting beliefs, and continue to try to show up for you all in hopes that I am helping in any way. All right, well, like I said, it's a short one. I'm going to hop off of here and hopefully get you all a full-length episode out soon about trauma. Again, I think that this is a really good topic. And if you want to start getting a head up, listen to the book, Complex PTSD. I think it's by Pete, something with a W. It's a really good book. I really like his concepts, and it could be a little triggering if you've had some But if you can take your time with it and enjoy it, could be very validating for your experience. So I wish you all well, and I will talk to you all soon. Take care. Thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. It really means the world to me. And if you find this information and content useful, please go rate and review the podcast and share it with anyone that you think might also benefit from this content. On Instagram, my handle is theintuitivepsychologist111, all underscore. And on there you will see I've got inspirational messages to share. And on Wednesdays at 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, I will go on and either do a live guided meditation or present a specific topic ahead of time. You can submit your questions and I will answer them live along with any questions that you have on the live chat. So that's been a really fun place to get a lot of interaction from my listeners and followers. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas, guests you'd like to return, please feel free to email me. My email is intuitive.psych.111@gmail.com. So that is intuitive.psych, which is spelled psych.111@gmail.com. If you're looking to work with me and you would like to have some assistance during the early stages of a spiritual awakening or any sort of early stages of coming into your spirituality, please feel free to look at my website. My website is intuitivepsych.com, intuitivepsych.com. And you can book a free 30-minute consultation to let me know what you're looking for and make sure that I am the best person to help you out. If you're in California and you're looking for spiritual therapy, feel free to also email me at the same email, intuitive.psych.111@gmail.com. And again, you will get a free 30-minute consultation to see if your mental health needs and my services are a good fit. So, again, thank you all so much for your support, your interactions, and just moving the conversation forward and continuing to give back in any way that you can. Not just for me, but just for everybody out there. Don't forget, folks, you are the light.